Mm. Hold on. Y'all gonna come to the bathroom with me. I'm watching Jimmy in Georgia. But I'm gonna pause it. And my baby is asleep. Hold on. We're gonna get into a really serious topic, as you can tell by the what's I'm gonna call it? The title. Okay, so when I put her down, sometimes she wakes up, sometimes she stays asleep. And today was one of the times, well, right now it's one of the times she didn't just stay asleep. So I'm gonna pat her for a little bit and she gets comfortable. I am going to be talking about self-harm and childhood depression, and I'm going to be talking from my own personal experience. Most people, that should be where they're getting what they're talking about from anyway, so obviously. And I just want to say already with a disclaimer, I am not trying to bash my mom. I love my mom, and I understand where she came from and what her life was like, and I understand that life is life and nobody's perfect and everything. So when I tell my truth and speak my truth right now, I just want to say that I don't want to make anybody feel worse about themselves. Rather it's my siblings, my parents, grandparents, or anybody who might feel some type of way about it. I don't know. Because I'm about to be 100% truthful, because that's what reality needs right now. That's what life and the world needs right now. We need a reality check. We need a rude awakening. And I already had mine, so I don't really care about someone else going through theirs. Because I went through mine. And they didn't care about mine. So, no offense. I'm not doing it out of spite. I'm just saying. Alright, I'm going to brush my teeth. Oh my gosh. Once gnats are in the house, they're in the house. I can't believe this happened. This is why I like fall. Summer has never been my favorite season. Oh, I keep forgetting to put the top on the toothpaste. I'm using this Pro Enamel toothpaste because my teeth from breastfeeding have been going through some things, and my normal toothpaste really hurts when I put it on there. I'm gonna save water. I turn it off while I brush my teeth too. So I'm 23 years old, and the first time I ever tried to commit suicide was when I was 13 years old. And aside from being 13 years old and actually trying to commit suicide from the age of around 12, I'm pretty sure 12, like middle school, 12 to like 16, maybe 17, but 16. Yep, just 16, not 17. I self-harmed, rather it be cutting, burning, scratching, not eating, sleeping my life away, like anything that was basically like self-harmful to me. And when you hear the words commit suicide and you hear the age 13 with those words, you might think to yourself, why would a 13-year-old want to kill herself? What could possibly be going on in a 13-year-old's life that they want to kill themselves? And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my childhood so that you can get a better picture of what actually made me want to kill myself. And I'm sharing my story so that maybe some other mom or maybe possible dad or grandparent or the actual person who could be self-harming themselves or about to self-harm themselves can be educated on what to look for, also be educated on what to help, like what could help. Hold on, y'all. I gotta brush my teeth. It's very important. Ugh, I'm not gonna lie, this toothpaste is not my favorite flavor. Oh, I forgot to floss. I'm gonna do two birds with one phone. I'm on live, by the way, just so you know. I'm on live. Yeah. I gotta floss anyway. Burnell! Okay, I'm gonna finish brushing my teeth in the kitchen. Bro, there's so many gnats. And I cleaned up. Okay. Don't mind any mess you see behind me. Okay. When I was a child, I grew up with a single parent. It's 3:33 on the clock. And in this home with the single parent and kids, I was the oldest of 6 kids. And we're all pretty much basically the same age, considering that we're like one age, then the next age below that, then the next age below that, then the next age below that. Somewhere skip a year, next age below that, next age below that. So, and something that I think is really important to the actual truth and reality of the story is that none of these kids who are younger than me have the same dad as me. So we have different genetic makeups. No tea. I mean, no shade. No tea. Wait, what's it called? Did you brush your teeth? I mean, did you wash your hands? Let me stop. You know. I hate. Ah. Am I tripping? Because I feel like I see something, and every time I put the floss right there, the thing is still there. Or is that just a gap? I don't know. It wasn't there at first. Y'all can get all up in my personal business. I don't care. I'm gonna die one day anyway. Not, oh my gosh, that was dark humor. That was dark humor. Hold on. I didn't mean it. For real, for real. All right. I don't think I was supposed to brush. I don't think I was supposed to rinse it. But it's okay. Okay. I'm gonna change the title of this probably, so people don't be shocked when they, oh, my boobs. When they see that I'm over here flossing my teeth in front of the camera. Ugh. Why is it stuck in my hair? Why? Why did it have to be there? Okay, anyway, so I was a very, very depressed child because I had a lot on my plate at a very young age. At a very young age, I was put in the position to be a support person for not only my younger siblings, but also my mom. By God. Not by anybody else, even though it's a little bit, but by God, essentially, because I am who I am, and I've always been who I am right now, that I am right now. She was in there, tucked away somewhere in my mind. She was my voice in my mind. The person I am today is the voice I had in my head that was making things better for me as a child. So I trust the voice inside my head right now that's trying to make this life, part of my life, better for me too, because I will become her. Amen. So essentially I had a lot on my plate mentally, emotionally, and physically too. I was a victim of childhood sexual assault and abuse by multiple different people. I was a victim of grooming by multiple different people. And around this time, so I'm telling you, 13 years old, around this time, I was just coming to terms with that fact. I'm still coming to terms with it before, like, the remembering and like the putting it into perspective, because this is the age where you're learning more about sex in school and health class and stuff like that, your peers. So I'm learning, like, oh my gosh, all the stuff that I've been already exposed to and doing, and like that was like really bad. It wasn't supposed to be happening. It's not like, it's not normal. So not only was I going through that, but I was going through a lot at home. I ended up needing to go to the mental health part of the hospital. It was the weekend of the first day of school when I was in 10th grade, and I remember this so vividly because 10th grade is when I had chemistry, and I was always excited about chemistry my whole entire life because I was really excited about like mixing chemicals and stuff like that, and I was told that that was chemistry. So it was the first weekend after school had started, and something was going on with me and my siblings at home. I forgot, or I don't remember, shall I say, exactly what was going on at this moment. I could remember it soon because I'm talking about it, but right now I don't. And all I know is that I got so angry and I got so mad with everything that I was like bottled up inside of me all of this time inside, plus whatever was going on at the time with my siblings and stuff. And my mom, she always was at work. My mom was always gone. She wasn't in the reality that I was in because she wasn't there. And even if she was there, the reality that parents see from and with their child is never the true reality of what their child is actually like going through, if you get what I'm saying. So I just remember getting really angry and upset about something in the house with my siblings, and my mom had this TV in her room that was pretty big, and I got so mad about something, and out of nowhere I just like hit it. I just like pushed my hand into it because I was arguing with one of my siblings, and like something was going on, and I just like I like pushed it with my hand, not closed fist, not anything like that. Literally just pushed it with my hand, not thinking too much. But I guess it was enough force, because when I got my hand back, kind of like blacked out basically. When I got my hand back, it was like cut, and the TV had like a spot on it where you could tell somebody hit it. It was like broken basically. And everybody was like, all my siblings was like, oh, I'm telling our mom, blah, 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 blah. And they were like doing this weird thing at the time where it was like to get somebody in trouble to be like the scapegoat at the time. And I knew that I was going to get in trouble for doing that to the TV. Or I just didn't want to, and I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with anything that was going on at the time. And so, y'all like my hair? I was really overwhelmed and everything was coming to a big climax. And I was just like, I'm going to kill myself. I just want to die. I'm just going to kill myself. And they ended up sending an ambulance to do an evaluation about me saying that I was going to kill myself. And I was at the point where I was so over all of the things that I went through with my family at the time, that I was just being super honest about how I felt and what was making me sad and what I felt inside and everything. And so they sent me to the mental health behavioral part of the hospital. And when I tell you that was heaven. And there was heaven. And there was so much heaven. I got the biggest vacation of my life at the time. Baby, I'm so grateful for the fact that I was put in there. But part of being in there, they have you talk to like a psychiatrist because, again, I'm underage, I'm a kid, so I'm in the kid side of like the psych ward basically. And so I was being honest and I was telling them all of the things that made me break at that point and why. And they like did their what is it called? Their evaluation, like they got in my mind and like really had me talking and was going to all of these things. And I just let it all out because it being inside me was what was killing me, what was breaking me, what was making me want to die. So long story short, they ended up calling CPS on my mom and they're like, oh, well, she doesn't have any like mental health issues really. It's just that what's going on in her house is something that needs to be looked at by a CPS, DCFS. And at that time, it wasn't the first time that CPS had been involved or had gotten involved. And my mom, like as a kid, especially when you're going through trauma and especially when you're in a house, it's called Stockholm syndrome. But you're taught that the CPS, DCFS workers are the bad guys and that they're coming to take you and that when they put you in the foster care system, people are going to abuse you even more and it's going to be worse and they're not going to love you and that your parents actually love you and that the things that they are doing are like normal and not that wrong. So once CPS had got involved and my mom came and visit me and stuff, I was like really scared and I was upset and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I didn't mean to make my mom upset. I didn't want to make her sad. I didn't want to do that. That's not why. I didn't think that was what was going to happen from me telling the truth. And so I got really scared and I got really like protective and I was like, okay, no, that's not true, you guys. That's not true. I'm okay. I'm fine. I just want to go home or whatever. Because my personal experience, like for me, not meaning what I've witnessed, because that's a different story, but my personal experience for myself at that time, my biggest challenge with my life was not my mom at the time. It was my siblings. Which is why I made it a point in the beginning to say how, like, now that I'm older, I can tell that what it is was DNA and we didn't have the same fathers and we had nothing in common, like morally or anything for the most part. So I had to cut that. So anyway, that's a big part of what I'm saying about childhood depression being real and being like something people need to really focus on. And why I said in the beginning, also disclaimer that what I'm about to say, I'm not trying to make anybody upset or like put them like it's not a personal thing. It's just the truth. It's just my story, and I will be sharing my story so that other people can have help or relate if they need to. Because even though I'm doing good mentally now, like the cycles, I see it in the streets, I see it in the world already. Like the cycle of it, I can identify it like bird's eye tunnel vision view of like, oh, they're creating so much trauma in their child's life right now. That right there is like a no, because I've been through it. So boom, that was when I was 16 in 10th grade. And then I went a second time after I found out that going to the mental hospital was a vacation and a break from my siblings, because all I did in there was like get right with my mind and like write stuff down, and also talking to the therapist the first time and getting everything out, like, and we both come into the conclusion that I wasn't the problem and that my toxic messed up family was the problem. um uh it it like gave me something to like it like helped me re-amp my energy by the time I came out, because it was like a week, which that week sacrificed my love for chemistry, because since I missed a whole entire week of the first week of chemistry, which is so crazy that they went that fast in the beginning of the school year. But I missed the beginning of chemistry, and I was never able to really catch up with what was going on, and I never really like got into like what I thought I was gonna love. So I ended up like barely passing chemistry by the time it was over that year. Um, I still liked it though. Still was fun. Um, but just not what I thought it was going to be. Um, so the next time I ended up going into the hospital, I was still young enough to be in the children's part. But the next time I knew that I didn't need to hurt myself. I didn't need to want, like, the need to, the wanting to hurt myself was enough for me to be going there, basically. So I didn't hurt myself. I didn't hurt anybody else. I didn't hurt anything else. I just knew, okay, I feel the way that I feel. I need to go back to the mental health hospital. So I did that the time that I needed it the next time, and I did that, and it was the most amazing thing again. So, boom, that was my safe haven. That was my safe spot. At first, when I was real young, because this is from childhood, school was my safe haven, my vacation. But when school became also a place of abuse and a place that made me depressed because I was getting bullied, which I've talked about on my YouTube channel before multiple times about how I was getting bullied and what happened. But essentially, at school, one person did something so crazy, and she had so many connections, like family and friends and stuff, that like it did a snowball effect of, for one, something she lied about and misinterpreted. And she recruited her family members and friends to not like me. And then as we grew older, those people who so-called didn't like me had other family and friends, and they would bond together and like tell them that they didn't like me. So it became like this big old like group of people who just didn't like me and didn't care for me for no reason. Again, based off a lie. And so that trickled into a whole bunch of other stuff outside of like fighting and like being essentially just like abused and mistreated for reasons that I didn't really deserve. So that really hurt my mental health too. So school was no longer like the safe spot. So when I found the hospital as a safe spot, I kept going there whenever it was like really big. And then one of the last times that I ever self-harmed, because at first I was so good about going to the hospital instead of self-harming by this point, because I knew that there I could like reset. My sister was doing this weird thing where she would pin my mom against me, or she would pin my mom against me and my sister and like put us together in this like weird cycle of events where us two being associated in the same thing automatically like triggered my mom into like hatred. And I was in the kitchen and my mom wouldn't listen to me about what she was doing. And I was just so over it, and she was doing it in the moment, and I just blacked out kind of, and I picked up a knife and I just was like, ah, and I screamed and I just psh, boom, and then I felt the sting and I opened my eyes and I didn't know where I had did that at, so I was like, through the tears in my eyes, I'm looking down at my skin like what just happened, and I didn't see anything in the first seconds, but then like this area right here, hold on, let me show you, can y'all see it? This area right here just like a cartoon, and like split open, like, and opened, and then I'm looking at like like yellow bubbles, which was fat. So trigger warning, so TMI, but it was real. So I don't know if you guys could actually see it. Can y'all actually see it? I don't know if y'all can actually see it, but it's right here. And I didn't really mean to do it. I meant to do the motion because I did it, but I didn't mean to touch myself, and I had never did that before. When I was 11 years old and I first started to do stuff like this, I just scratched myself when I was mad. I banged my head on the wall when I was mad when I was a kid, or like I beat on my chest or like my body and stuff like that. And then as I got older, it wasn't enough to like suffice like the anger and like the sadness and the rage that I felt for what I was going through. So I started scratching myself, and then after I started scratching myself, I elevated to like this razor, and I just like slightly like nicked spots. And then I told myself that I wouldn't do that anymore. But the first time I ever actually tried to kill myself, when I was 13, which was after all of this, I just took a whole bunch of pills. Like my mom had this bin in the closet that she would put like her pills in that she wouldn't use anymore. And it was full. It was a really big bin. And I just opened them. I just opened a whole bunch of them and just took some of every one of them. And I just like threw them back. And I was like, gonna kill myself. And saying that and thinking about that right now makes me emotional because I really could have died. And I just feel so bad for myself that I literally felt that bad. And I think about my age and I'm like, oh my God, that's so sad, because I'm around kids that age now. And they're so little and they're so small and they're so full of life and they're so like fragile. And it's like, wow. I'm like, wow. But that story, when I was 13 and I took the pills, I remember this so vividly too. I ended up getting really sick after I took all those pills. And I'm not a big, and this is probably the reason why I almost choke every time I try to take a pill now. But I ended up getting really sick and I was throwing up and I couldn't stop throwing up. And I did this because at the time my mom, like she I don't even know exactly what happened, but I just know it was something, and she was mad at me, and it was like a reason why she shouldn't have been mad at me, but she wouldn't listen to me. She wouldn't literally listen to me tell her that what was going on wasn't really true and that she was mad about something that wasn't true and wasn't reality, but she wouldn't listen. I was throwing up in the bathroom. The door was open because it's hot and I'm sweating and I'm essentially almost dying, honestly. And I just remember my mom's room was across from the bathroom, and she just looked at me with disgust and was like, close the door. Nobody wants to see that. And I was like, she don't know that I'm dying right now, but at the same time I am, and she doesn't even know that I'm dying, nor does she care. So that made me feel even worse. So I closed the door and I just prepared to die, honestly, but I threw up and I didn't die. Thankfully I didn't die. But I was really sick, and I had a lot of like weird symptoms after that, but nobody knew that that's what I did, and I never went to the doctor about it, nothing. So I just kept going on with life. But that time told me that I told myself that I would never try to kill myself again, because I was literally pleading to God. I'm not gonna lie, it was hurting so bad, and I was like so delirious. I was like, God, please no, I don't want to die. I was just playing. I'm so sorry, please no. And I told him I would never do it again. And from 13 up until like the time I'm telling you about when I went to the hospital, I never really did it again. I have instances where I would like put pressure on myself or like do the beating my chest thing or something like that. Or actually, this is also when I started like doing I was like destructive. I was destructive. Self-harm, destructive. So after the second time that I went to the mental health hospital as a child, that was around the time that I cut myself. I actually didn't go to the hospital, to the mental health hospital, this time that I cut myself, because the shock of me actually doing it that time woke me up inside. And I was like, never again will I ever do that. Never again will I even give these people the power over me to make me want to, because I don't hate myself. I don't hate myself. I don't want to die. I love life. I love life. At the time, I just didn't like the life that I was living. I didn't like the reality that I was a part of. That's really what it was. It wasn't that I hated my life or myself. I love myself. Always have. I always questioned, though, why things were happening to me that I didn't deserve. But I didn't hate myself. But I promised God after I did this, and it was like way too close for comfort for real. I promised God that I would never ever self-harm again. And I wasn't 18 yet, or 19, which is when I actually like got free from my family because my mom put me out. But fun story, because I'm about to get into that part too, because that was the first time I ever went to the mental health hospital, and it was the adult side, and that's when I vowed not to go back to the mental health hospital either. So long story short, we ended up moving states when I was in 11th grade. So this is right before the second time I went to the hospital. Oh, no. This is after I went to the hospital that second time as a child, where it was a vacation. And the second time, I knew better than to tell them all my business, because all they was going to do was call CPS again, and I wasn't trying to get my mom in trouble. I wasn't trying to like break up our family or whatever. I just wanted a break from them. Which now I want to advocate for people who feel like that and be like, no, it's not your job to protect someone else's feelings and someone else's false reality of the way that they're living. But so we moved states. I'm in 11th grade. It's the end of 11th grade, so things get really rocky. And we moved to a completely different area than I'm used to. I grew up in like a super predominantly white Republican conservative like spot. So I was used to a certain thing. I was used to racism being, and colorism really, and bullying being my biggest like social challenge. So we moved to a predominantly black area. Actually, I'm gonna just say black area, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't really know if I seen any white people there. Oh wait, no, I did, but they wasn't actually living there. They just were the church people that would come and get us. What was his name? I forgot his name. Ben? No, I don't think it was Ben. Anyway, so this is jumping towards the spiritual awakening part of my life. The really big, forever changing spiritual awakening, coming of God era of my life. I'm hitting new eras in my life. I'm hitting new milestones in my life. I never really had a group of friends before. I never had friends. I never was outside. My mom made us stay in the house. And that's another reason why when I was a child, it was like a really big mental health thing being around my siblings. Because we never went outside really, like to play outside and stuff. We never like were in extracurricular activities really. I did really good in math in school, so I was in tag. So I was 2 grade levels above for math my whole entire life. But other than that, like I didn't do volleyball, I didn't do sports. I always wanted to play the piano. I never got the chance to play the piano. Anything, nothing like that. So when we moved to this new spot and it was predominantly black, my mom, she was still at work all the time, but this time it was more like we were older. We were like almost grown or wanting to be grown. So we ended up going outside and meeting people, and like we gained this group of friends, and I got my first real boyfriend and everything, and things were going really well for a while. Um, this was around the time of the pandemic, literally. Um, and we got so much closer when the pandemic hit, so we literally like was together every single day and night. Um, so we got close. It was the best time in my life mentally at the time. Um, until it wasn't. Until my morals and my higher self kicked in. It was like something's fishy, something's not right, and you do not condone the things that are the not right things right now. And so I'm like a detective, so I started digging and paying attention more. Um, at the time, I was smoking weed. That was our bonding point, me and these friends and my sister. We would just smoke weed and stuff. So I quit smoking weed and I started paying attention to real life. Plus, this was like the end of the school year, and I was about to graduate, and I really wanted to go to college bound. So I stopped smoking weed. I went through all of that. I started meditating out of nowhere. I forgot exactly what happened to make me start meditating, but I ended up starting meditating. Mm-hmm. And stay next to her. I'm gonna just say that the meditation that I did worked. It worked so well that my life blew up. My life blew up. I did a whole dark night of the shadow. All the shadow work that you could think of. How old is your kids? So my baby that's crying right now, she is 8 months old. She's about to turn 9 months old on the 15th. And she is the only kid that I have with me right now because my other kid passed away when I was 25 weeks pregnant with him. Technically, he was murdered and neglected by people, but I'll tell y'all about that a different time. Come here. Bring her here. But anyway, so the good times turned into shambles at that time. Thank you. My shoulder hurts so bad, baby. My shoulder hurts so bad. So yeah, this is my baby. She is about to turn 9 months old. Say hi, Janelle. You gonna wave? Say hi. Say hi. She just woke up from her nap. She don't want to play with nobody. But anyway, long story short, because I actually have talked about this time very vividly and extremely on my channel already. Just search in my channel when I talk about spiritual awakening, because that's this part of the story. So anyway, very long story short, during the time that I was going through my spiritual awakening and going through like probably withdrawal from marijuana, I ended up going through a part of it. It could be called psychosis, basically, but it was bigger than just psychosis. That's why I'm a very big advocate on mental health and like spirituality, and I love God and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up going through some stuff where I didn't feel safe where I was at. And so where did I run to? The safe haven, the hospital. But I was 18 years old. So I was admitted to the adult side of the hospital, and also I was in a new state, so it wasn't the normal hospital I always was going to. And since I was 18 years old and in that side, it was completely different than the children's side that I was used to. So automatically you get in there, and for some reason I think it's on their payroll to just put everybody on some type of medicine if they come in there. So they tried making me take these medications, which impaired the thoughts and process of thinking that I was going through at the time, which were very effective for me to figure out what to do with my life and what was going on. And also it gave me some reactions to where like my body was shaking uncontrollably. And I felt not like in my body. So I was like, okay, I'm stopping taking this because I really don't need this. I don't need help like that. Like I know what I'm doing. I just need a woosah from the life and reality I have to live right now. So I ended up stopped taking the medicine that they were trying to make me take, and I also found out that I can refuse it in the first place. So I refused it, and then I did the withdrawal from that. I stayed in the hospital for 8 days, and as I'm in the hospital, my mind is like on go mode about every single thing intuitively that I felt was going on in my life and towards me, around the people that I was around at the time and with my siblings. And I was coming to the fact and the reality that my life and what I was thinking this whole entire time was true, and that I should have never been going through all the things that I was going through, and that what I was going through at home was really bad, and that I should have never went through all of the abuse that I went through. I should have never been in charge of all of the kids that I was in charge of. I never should have been scapegoated for someone else's I won't use this word that I'm thinking of, so I'm just leave it as I should have never been going through the things that I was going through in the first place that made me feel like I needed to kill myself, or I needed to escape, or I needed to do anything. Are you okay? Okay, so then I found God. I literally found God. I got him. He got me. And since that day, it never changed. I got out of the hospital after 8 days and went back to the life. I was a new person. You okay? Are you pooping? I was a new person when I got back home after 8 days of spiritual awakenings. So it didn't stop though, because I was in the dark night of the soul. Janelle, what are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to poop, or I'm confused? Do you want to touch something? So I went through that. I went through the dark night of the soul, and I went through a whole bunch of things in life. But that was the last time where my mental health was so in shambles that I needed to hit rock bottom. Basically, I hit rock bottom with my mental health, and then I found God in the darkness, and he helped bring me out of the darkness and into the light. And one of the biggest things that I learned from God at that time was the story of Lot and his family and his wife, and why we should never be like Lot's wife. When God saves you from something, you never ever turn back to what he saved you from, because you will change, but those people have not changed, and they are not sorry for what they did to you. So anybody who's ever did anything bad to you and never apologized for it at that, and just skimmed over it, never go back around those people. Never do that, or those situations. So just recently my mental health had a hiccup again, because part of why I'm talking about what I'm talking about is because God has literally put it in my spirit to get it out and to be an advocate for people, because parents ruin their child's life. Fathers ruin their child's life when they leave the mom, and they don't become the person that they need to be to create a sacred union, which is what they did when they laid down and had sex together to make the child in the first place. So when the dad leaves the mom to take care of the kid all by herself, he has doomed her and the kid. And the mom could be an amazing mom and do her part and be perfect and be an angel, but she cannot effectively take care of a child by herself, because God didn't create it like that. If she could, and if it was like that, God would make her just bear children on her own. So again, none of my younger siblings had the same dad as me, and my mom was a single parent with all of us. So yeah, a lot of men are going to hell for that one. And even though I understand that was a part of my mom's struggle, we still went through other things that don't trickle back to somebody else being the reason why.
I gotta run down to unemployment office and sign some papers for my unemployment.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. But yeah. mental health is real, and any parent that really invalidates their child's mental health is going to hell. No offense. Heaven and hell is on earth. You're just going to not have a good life. Because it's true. And a parent might be like, oh, you don't even have any bills to pay. You don't have to do anything. But still their kid isn't having the best life that they could have because the parent somewhere, somehow, the parents, both parents, didn't do something that they were supposed to do. More than likely, one of them did the best that they can do, but it still doesn't equal up to the best. You know? And by all means, I don't think that people should work it out with the other parent if it's hurting them at all, because everybody's mental health matters. Because I think my mom definitely did the right thing and not stayed with any of our fathers. But that doesn't mean that they weren't supposed to co-parent and the father was supposed to stay in the child's life and provide for the child and be a second home to the child. Never in my life have I ever been... Never mind. I'll hold that thought. But anyway, I went through a lot as a child with my mental health, and I never want my child to go through that, ever. I don't want anybody's child to go through that. I don't want anybody to go through anything. And I wish that people understood that DCFS, that CPS and DCFS are not the enemy. They're not the enemy. They can really help. That's why they changed their name from CPS to DCFS. Anywhere it's DCFS. Child Protective Services is completely different than the Department of Children and Family Services. It's literally called DCFS because Children and Family Services. Services, the definition of services is to be of help. So they're not the enemy. That was a great neck pop. Oh my gosh. I feel good. That felt good. And that's why I need to talk about what I'm talking about, because part of my spiritual awakening, I learned that a lot of aches and pains, don't tell them? You said God don't tell them that? Okay, I won't tell them that then. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I want to advocate for children's mental health. I want to advocate to any child out there who gets the dilemma of, if you have to not tell the truth about your home life or your family life in order for DCFS not to be a part of your life or not to take you from your mom and dad or anything, that should just tell you that your mom or dad or both, they need help, and that you're not being taken care of efficiently. Going from one system to the next system, any type of like government assistance. So if you're young and you're going to need government assistance when you turn 18 and stuff because your home life wasn't A1 to where you're going into adulthood with something and you need government help, if DCFS is trying to get involved when you're a child, you might as well be honest with them and let them help. Because the same government that funds and pours into them is the same government you're going to be needing money from to get your life together when you become an adult. That's a different story that I could talk about for at least 30 minutes. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope this helps somebody. I hope that my personal story can help people. And that's why I'm going to continue to keep sharing things. And I'm so sorry to the person that it might hurt and to the people that it might hurt. But the truth actually hurts. And I have to deal with it. So you can deal with it and get through it, heal from it, do the work. Yeah. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Cry it out and you'll be fine. Like I had to do. But anyway, you know, my boob is starting to leak, What did you do? You started screaming and it started leaking. Anyway, bye.